Hi, my name is Darrell Oviatt. This is my video for my research paper for Management 317. The title of my paper is The Case Against Affirmative Action. And basically why I chose this particular subject is because being a Caucasian male, I was wondering what affirmative action is and what will it mean in the future when Caucasian white males are the minority in our country. For this paper, I researched scholarly articles. I also did an interview with a Mayo Clinic human resources employee. She did ask that I not use her name, so I won't use it. I will grant her wish. There's numerous articles that educate us that affirmative action is a thing of the past, that we don't need it anymore, and that it's basically a useless law that that had good intentions, but at this point, pretty useless. For this video, you will need to understand what reverse discrimination is, and in this essence, it would be a white male being excluded from the employment process or not being allowed into an academic institution because the actual company or institution has to use affirmative action practices to make it fair for a minority. A Caucasian would be a white male, and the minority in this sense is an underrepresented group or race or gender. Basically, a white female would be included in there, not in Caucasian. Caucasian is strictly a male. If we did decide to eliminate affirmative action, what will we do? What will be next? What will be our next steps be? So that is one thing I also wanted to know. You know, affirmative action was coined in 1961 by President Kennedy with his Executive Order 10925. And essentially this executive order was basically enacted for fairness, to stop racism. So, and at that point it was only for employment practices. It has been expanded. It was expanded into academic institutions later on, and I do believe truly that it had noble cause. I just don't think through the knowledge that I gained that it is effective. So, like I said, it was an attempt to stop it. So, affirmative action, according to our textbook, represents a set of steps taken by an organization to actively seek qualified applicants, from an underrepresented group in the workforce, and in this essence, academic institutions as well. Darkwater's article that I researched, defined it as a collection of policies intended to promote access to education and employment to minorities and women. So, to tie that together to what we're trying to learn in this human resources is essentially, in today's day and age, you need a degree. I know at Mayo Clinic, they are pretty much requiring a degree for everything nowadays. And not so much even what it's in, just that you have a degree. So it does tie back, into human resources in the essence that if you can't get into an academic institution, how are you going to have what you need to actually get employed? So I do understand that, and I do think that that is great. The issue that I possibly, have with it is, as Terry Eastland says, that whites have primarily been the victims of affirmative action. And what he's talking about is reverse discrimination. You have a law that is supposed to stop racism, but in essence, it's not fair if you're excluding a group, which would be, Caucasian males. So, you can't fix racism with more racism. And that does make sense to me, and that's why I wanted to do some more research on it. Who are the people that the affirmative action is supposed to help? Well, not long ago, you couldn't go to, apply for a job, and I even remember this, my first job, they asked your age, your race, obviously the gender, they could see, from your application or when they have you in the interview, but, they aren't allowed to do that anymore. So in that, it did help that. Affirmative action does help in that sense that they can't exclude you for those things necessarily. The unfortunate part is obviously when you come in for an interview, they're going to, physically be able to see all these. So it could change things then. So, does affirmative action help or hinder? Well, it's intended to help the underrepresented, which is great. I do get that. The only problem I have with it is I would consider Asians as a minority in our country, and Asians are actually lumped together with Caucasians for whatever reason, and in essence, since they are excluded from some certain practices, especially academic institutions. I read one article that spoke of that they had so many Asian applications that if they allowed every Asian person that applied there, the school would be 95% Asian. So I get it, but you are definitely discriminated against them, or the racism is happening if you're not taking the best applicant. And if the case was that the 95% of them were Asian because they got the best score, then I guess so be it. We really wouldn't have anything to fall back on. Another problem that we have, and McCardle pointed out in it, is it increases the numbers of minorities registered in institutions, but unfortunately some of them are not ready. They came from high schools that were not up to par, so they get there, they drop out, they change their majors, so that also changes. They're not equipped academically for the rigors of college, so it puts them at a disadvantage. So yes, we got them there, but what good did it do? If they leave anyway, it doesn't help. Is it outdated? I believe that it's, we're talking 1961 and we're in 2015. And there's numerous articles, and even the Mayo Clinic interview that I did, that it really doesn't make a difference. She stated that it doesn't affect their policies whatsoever. They already have a diverse group of people, and it matches their population of people that they have. So it really doesn't affect them anymore. And I also believe that as we advance and Caucasian males, white males, become the minority in our country, I believe a lot of these practices will fix themselves just in the effect of there being so many more applicants that are not Caucasian white males, that the best will be hired. So I think that also has a determining factor in it. Should we eliminate affirmative action? I believe that we should. I don't really think it's doing anything. And instead, I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not, and I do not. I work with all kinds of minorities, and as I stated, I am in a minority in my work area, so I do understand what my words mean. An interesting point is in 2006, Michigan passed the Civil Rights Initiative. And basically what it did is the people of Michigan amended the state constitution and said preferential treatment based on race, ethnicity, or gender is gone. I mean, we're not, like I said earlier, racism is racism. You can't fix it. Another point made in my research is a lot of races, primarily African American, feel that they're owed, or somehow, because they were enslaved, over 100 years ago. Unfortunately, I am saddened that these actions, occurred, but I don't necessarily feel that, us in today's society should be punished because of that. And I don't feel that you can fix it somehow by allowing this to happen. It just does not make sense to me. So if we do eliminate affirmative action, as I've stated, I think we should, what do we do? What do we do next? There are some good ideas that we have. Is Eric Alderi. He suggests the only way to eliminate discrimination is to base the entire system on a colorblind process. And if you do that, yes, you will have diversity, and you will not need to eliminate certain races or genders or whatever. They'll basically be taken care of by that. He also recommends setting up a mentorship program, which is one of the strongest things I like. I think that we need to, instead of just automatically, putting minorities and allowing them into academic institutions, I think we need to somehow have a mentorship program. So when we get them, get there, and for everybody that we get there, that there's a less of a chance of failure, that we have something in place to keep them in school, because I think it's great. Because in my opinion, and you could ask my children, education is the key to everything. It's the only thing in the world that no one can ever take away from you, is education, and it's all up to you. What you put into it, you're going to get something out of it, but it's all up to you. So I do believe these should be, and like I stated previously, without education, you're not going to have any employment opportunities in the near future. So I do believe that is definitely. He also talks about socioeconomically based affirmative action plans, which basically gives opportunities to the disadvantaged instead of the advantaged, and not just simply minorities. So not just letting someone attend an academic institution because they're Hispanic. It's a socioeconomic problem, whereas the people that can afford it shouldn't be placed ahead. And we do have a lot of minorities that are upper management now, and it's becoming greater. And female, I have personally 3 female managers above me, and they do a great job. So times have changed over the last 50 years since the laws were started by President Kennedy. So basically, in conclusion, I feel that we should change it. I think that it's sort of a double whammy right now on race, that it's enacted to fix racism, but it's actually creating more racism. And I think by eliminating it and thinking of new ways to fix the problems and the issues, that we'll actually have more educational opportunities, more qualified applicants applying for jobs, and that everyone will be treated equally, no matter your race, your ethnicity, or even your socioeconomic background. Those things should not be hindrances on your opportunities for education or employment. Thank you for listening.